Anyway, and I'm PK. Welcome to our podcast. I'm Kelly Metters, lead pastor of Connect Church here in Ocean Way in Jacksonville, Florida. And this is Christy Smith, my co-host. Welcome, Christy.
Hi.
How are you doing today?
I'm good. I'm very tired, but I'm good.
Good. Yeah, it's been a late couple of days around here.
It sure has.
You were here late last night. It's been a late few days around here getting some stuff done and upgraded in the sanctuary and
doing big things.
Video screens and all. I mean, it's like
it's happening.
LED screens on the platform. It's nice.
Looks
it's working
great.
out.
Yep.
Working out great. Well, hey, I been thinking about today and about what I wanted to talk about today. And to be honest, I kind of was a little bit stumped about what I wanted to talk about today. But last night, I really decided what I wanted to talk about. I want to talk about keeping your word and what all that means to me. And I believe what that means to Christians, to believers. Remember, this is in the context, I say this every week, but this conversation is in the context of believers in Jesus and how believers should act. This isn't a moral thing for all of society, although all of society would be better off if they kept their word. These are things that should be the norm. You said this earlier, and then before we started, some of these things should be the norm for believers, but they're not. They should be common sense for believers, but they're not always common sense for believers.
It should be common courtesy.
Yeah, but all believers in Christ are not commonly courteous.
Right.
That's the truth.
Oh, I know, yeah.
So let me ask you, how important is it for people to keep their word to you?
So if I were to rate this on a scale of 1 to 10, I would rate it 100 out of 10.
Really?
Because like if you don't keep your word, then you're breaking trust. You're making me put up walls around you because I can't trust you. And it just causes, if I can't trust you to, be there when you said you were going to do, or said you were going to be there, or do the things you said you're going to do, and then you don't do it, and that repeats itself over and over and over again, it kind of just separates us from me relationally to where I can't be as close to you. I don't trust you.
Right.
And it's something personal, really, but it kind of is at the same time.
It kind of is personal.
Yeah,
it is. You're personally not keeping your word to me. I mean, if you think about it, if you say you're going to do something and you don't do it, you're not keeping your word. Another word for that is lying. And if there's one thing you can ask my kids and the people that know me, there's a few things that really, if you accuse me of being a liar, especially, you know what I mean? Anyway. We're going to have words or issues or toe-to-toe, whatever. But I don't like that. So let me ask you this. That being the case, you said 100 out of 10. That's like, is there anything else that you can think of that's worse than that? Somebody lying and not keeping their word? Or that? I mean there's worse things, I guess, but
but
this
that's
is a top
one.
Me too. It's a big one for me too. So then if it's important that people keep their word to you, how important is it to you to keep to keep your word to other people?
I find it to be extremely important because I want to act in a way how I expect others to treat me, like, golden rule. So if I expect somebody to keep their word, I'm going to do that too. Like I'm going to do that up front. That's just part of who I am. I don't want anyone to not trust me. I don't want my character to be reflected on based off of that. Like I want
Well, what did you say?
My character.
You don't want your character to be reflected on. You don't want people to see your character
as somebody who
as not having any.
Right. I don't want that to be what I'm known for. Right. I guess you could say. And I really try my best to keep my word, do what I'm going to say. And if for some reason something happens and I can't, I'm going to say something.
I'm going to own it.
I'm going to own it, and I'm going to
apologize.
Right. And take the L is what the kids say these days.
Take
the L.
Listen,
I'm not in the kid zone no more.
It's the kids. I'll take the L.
I'm not in that zone no more. I'm
like
telling
75.
You. Yes,
take the L.
Absolutely.
The kids say that.
I'm mentally 75.
You guys say that. It's awesome.
I go to bed at 8 o'clock. What are you saying?
That's awesome. It's awesome. For me, as far as how important it is for people to keep their word to me, you hit on it. If I can't trust your word, I can't trust you. And I don't know how many times it takes. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. fool me 3 times, then it's definitely shame on me because I should have been paying better attention.
Well, it's like the piece of paper that you crumble. Like, okay, maybe if you crumble it one time, okay, yeah, it's not that bad. But you keep crumbling up, it becomes more wrinkled, and you can't flatten it back out.
Right.
How it was before.
Or it takes some. It
takes
doing.
Or it takes
some
a
iron,
lot of time.
It takes some heat and it takes some pressure to semi-flatten it back, and it'll never be like it was.
It'll never be the same. Yeah.
It'll always be scarred.
Right.
So, if we do that with people, if I understand what you're saying, if we do that with people, don't keep our word, maybe eventually our character can be worked out. But in their eyes, even if we walk it back out, in their eyes, our character is at least scarred.
And they're always going to have that in the back of their mind.
I wonder if they're going back to their old ways.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, so it's important for people to keep their word to me, especially in ministry, especially people that for me, especially if you're someone that I've delegated authority to or trust to, and I've given you a place a little bit to speak on my behalf, and you don't keep your word to me, don't like it. Conversely, and I think that you hit on this as important, it's very important for me to be seen as a person whose word is good, a person who keeps their word, a person who does what they say they're going to do, a person whose word means something. So here's a for instance. For me, if I'm going to buy a car from you, you're going to sell me a car, and we're going to sell it for a year for $1,000 a month. I'm going to pay you $12,000 payments. For me, you don't need a contract with me. Now, I'll give you one because it's just smart.
Right.
But you don't need one with me. Because if I told you that I was going to pay you $1,000 a month for 12 months, my word is as good as me signing on a piece of paper in blood.
Yeah, that's how I feel about myself as well.
It's and if something happens,
like I take it seriously.
If I mess up, I'm not perfect.
Right, yeah.
If I mess up, if I forget something, if I'm late to something, it crushes me. I don't like it, but I absolutely will own it, and I am so sorry. This is completely my fault. Here's the explanation. I'm not trying to make excuses. I am sorry.
Yeah.
I dropped the ball. Not like me, but this is on me.
So that reminded me. So I had a couple situations where I forgot to do a homework assignment for school or a big, test or something like that, and it just completely slipped my mind, or I had something else come up, and I completely just didn't do it. And so like the cutoff for me to turn it in was over, and the teacher's like, "Oh, we have no exception rule policies." And so when my grade at the end of the semester is like really bad, I'm like, "Oh man, that's my fault." Like I'm not going to blame the teacher for that. And then sometimes in some situations I did reach out to the teacher, and I was like, "Hey, I'm not trying to come up with excuses here. This is what happened the day I was going to do this, and it just completely slipped my mind, and that's my fault. I'm sorry. Would you be able to let me turn this in late?" And sometimes they would say yes, and sometimes they would say
reduction.
Yeah, I was like, "I'll take half credit, whatever." And sometimes they would do it, and sometimes they were like, "Sorry, can't do that. I can't make exceptions." And I would just have to own that.
There's consequences attached to not keeping your word. That's what I hear you saying.
Yep.
There are consequences attached to, and even if it's only consequences in other people's hearts that we don't even realize. Yeah. We may have a relationship with somebody that we just take for granted and don't realize we don't keep our word to them, and we just keep on in that pattern. They hold us in less of esteem, hold us in less regard, and we don't even realize that we've lost ground with people.
And you also don't realize who's watching you.
That is a fact. That's a fact.
Especially if you're a leader in ministry, people watch you and see what you do. You know what I'm saying?
People do that. And you can think that you're where nobody knows. I was in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the Philly airport, and I was sitting beside the walkway going to the gates and stuff, and I was starving. And I sat down to drink a soda and eat a cheeseburger. And I was there, and at the time there was the church I was a part of, there was this real strict view on alcohol and anything like that. Anything like that, like a glass of wine. It was super, super legalistic. And whatever your regard is, God bless you, love you. Anyway, but that's the environment that I was in at the time. And, I could have been doing whatever, but I made an agreement as a minister representing them to not. Well, you're in Philadelphia, nobody knows. That's true. Except for the fact is I'm eating my cheeseburger and drinking my Diet Coke, probably with Diet Coke with lime in it, as I'm drinking my Diet Coke, the worship leader for that church and his wife and his 3 kids walked by as I'm biting the cheeseburger and said, "Kelly, you don't ever know who's watching. You don't know.
Just because you don't see them either doesn't mean they're not watching.
That's a fact. You don't know who's watching. And so people may be looking at you, and I've got some scripture I'm going to get to, but this is all good conversation. People may be looking at you in your life, whether I have an opportunity that I'm in charge of. Should I give it to this person? Should I entrust Christy with this opportunity? Can I trust her? I don't know. Well, did she keep her word last time I gave her an opportunity? Did she follow through? Did she do what she agreed to do last time? Can I trust her to be where she's supposed to be? Because this is a thing of trust. You don't ever know what opportunity is there for you that you don't get as a consequence of not keeping your word, and then you wonder why God isn't opening doors for you. The truth of the matter is God was trying to open doors for you, but you kept them shut because of your character. It's true. So for me, it is very important that I be seen as someone whose word can be trusted, can be valued. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why in a minute. Matthew chapter 5, verse 33 to 37. Jesus talks about keeping your word. This is one of those passages, especially keeping your word to God. He said, "Again you've heard that the ancients were told, 'You shall not make false vows, but shall fulfill your vows to the Lord.'" So the Lord, if you make a vow to the Lord, you come into covenant with Him about whatever, if it's finances, if it's, covenant with your spouse, whatever it is, He expects you to keep those vows. But I say to you, make no oath at all, either by heaven, for it is the throne of God, or by the earth, for it is His footstool, or His feet, or by Jerusalem, for it's the city of the great King. Nor shall you make an oath by your head, for you cannot make one hair white or black. And here's really where it comes down to. But let your statement be yes, yes, or no, no. Anything beyond these is of evil. God expects us to keep our word. And I would rather somebody look at me and say, "No, I can't do that," than to look at me and say, "Yes, sure, I'll be glad to do it," and then don't do it.
Yeah, or not do it to their,
to how they know the expectation is.
Yeah.
To the conveyed to the agreed upon expectation.
Yeah.
I will respect you more with a no than a sure, I know you need help, and then
try to scramble around trying to figure it out.
We've got a term for it. Halfway it.
That's the word I was.
I can tell you
that's
my
what I was trying to
granddaddy's
think.
term was close to that, but not exactly.
Yeah.
It was a little more emphatic. But it was close to that. And so, but God expects us to keep, as believers, to keep our word. Why? We represent Him. We represent Jesus. If you have an ambassador to the nation of Nicaragua, comes to mind because I spend time in Nicaragua. If you have the U.S. ambassador to Nicaragua that promises something to Nicaragua and doesn't do it, or has an ambassador that's supposed to be for the government of Nicaragua and goes behind and sells arms to the Contras, and he didn't keep his word, that's an issue. Well, you're supposed to be an ambassador to the world on behalf of the kingdom. It's important. He expects us to keep our word to Him, especially to Him. Especially keep covenant, keep our word to Him. He expects us to keep our word to each other. Why? Because He values you. It's showing disrespect for me to not keep my word to you, especially as another believer. It shows dishonor, disrespect. And honor is showing value to what Jesus values. Jesus died for you. He values you. So if I show dishonor to you, I'm showing dishonor to Jesus. If I'm lying to you, if I'm not keeping my word to you, I'm dishonoring you. And because you belong to the Lord, I'm dishonoring the Lord. People will say, well, you can't make that jump. Yeah, I just did. You can. It is. It's the truth. He expects us to keep our word in general. The biggest for me, one of the biggest compliments that I'll never forget. And it was another guy in ministry who was overseeing me in ministry at the time. Someone asked him about me. And what he told him was that is a man that will swear to his own hurt. Meaning, if he gives you his word, even if it hurts, even if it costs him something, he will keep his word. And that is a dividing line for a lot of people. If they give you your word, if it's convenient, they'll do it. If it costs them a nickel, they won't do it. If it costs them a minute, they won't do it. If it costs them any kind of aggravation or discomfort or anything,
Any type
or a
of
better
inconvenience.
opportunity come up, they won't do it.
Right.
But for me to have someone that I respected in ministry that was overseeing me to tell someone that I was a man that would swear to my own hurt, that for me, that's one of the biggest compliments I can receive or to give. And I won't give that lightly.
Right.
There's a few things I can say about people that I don't. I trust that man. If I tell you this person's an honorable man, that's huge to me. If you ever hear me say this is an honorable man, that's huge to me. I don't go around flinging the term brother. We don't do the brother this, brother that, brother. If I call you brother or sister, that means something to me. That's a relational thing that means something. If I say to somebody, Christy's a woman who'll swear to her own hurt, that's one of the highest compliments I can give you. That means I trust you implicitly. That means I'd hand you a loaded gun, and I don't do that. You know what I mean?
Right.
I mean that's what literally that means. I trust you with my life.
Yeah.
I mean, there's very few people in life that I can think of that I would do that with. But I trust you. I can tell people right now, I trust you. You're a person of your word. Your word means, your yes means yes, and your no means no.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. So anyway, if you don't do what you said you would do, like I said a while ago, not keeping your word is to tell a lie. If I'm a person who consistently doesn't keep my word, then by my life and by my actions, I am a liar.
That's true.
The Bible has some things to say about liars.
Sure does.
And they're rough. They're rough. And so, I mean, your character, when you don't consistently don't keep your word, your character is suspect, especially in my eyes. What do you think about that?
It can hold you back. It can, like, with your character being disrupted by not keeping your word, especially, it can hold you back in life in every aspect.
Well, let me ask you this: if somebody doesn't keep their word to you consistently, okay, you know that they're not a person of their word. So would that make you make their character suspect in other areas? Like, what if they cheat on their wife? What if they cheat on their taxes?
Yeah.
They probably don't pay their bills. They
take shortcuts. Or
they take
whatever.
shortcuts.
Yeah.
They don't do the right. They probably given the choice or given up. They're probably.
And
not
it's
do
like
the right
you don't intentionally do that, but that's just what your mind just start thinking. You're like, okay, well, they don't have this basic thing they should have. Then what else are they not doing that's a little bit more harder to maintain? Maybe.
Well, think about it like this, okay? If you know a person went down and bought a new car, and have a car note, but you know that they never kept their word to you, then that's going to make you think, well, I bet they won't pay their car note because their word doesn't mean anything to them. They promised to pay this car note. Why would they do that? They don't do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Do you see what I'm saying? It just it flows into all aspects.
It's a domino effect.
Exactly. They don't keep their word. Their word doesn't mean anything to them. Well, did their word mean anything to them when they stood up in front of God and said, "Yeah, I'll love, honor, and obey and cherish this man"? When they made a covenant before God and men, did that mean anything?
Yeah.
Because
if you make a promise like that and you don't keep your word, then what does the word covenant actually mean to you? And you don't value what that means. Then
Nothing.
You don't value it at all.
It doesn't mean a thing.
And then everything
else
spirals.
It doesn't mean a thing? Because a covenant is an agreement between two people and Jesus. It holds it together. But if people flippantly give their word, flippantly make a covenant, they don't value the covenant because they don't value their word. If their word doesn't mean anything, the covenant doesn't mean a thing. Nothing.
There's no point even having covenants.
Why? Why? You're just giving them another opportunity to lie.
Right.
So that's what I'm talking about. We can't be people who are seen like that. Your character becomes suspect. You as a person are called into question when you can't keep your word, because that's just basic. Have you ever met somebody, Christy Lee? Where did I get that from? I don't know.
You're talking in cursive.
I'm talking in cursive. Have you ever met someone who consistently broke their word to you? Who you knew when they're like,
I've
if
had
their lips were moving, you knew they were lying?
Yeah, there's people that let's see. There's people that I've known, I won't say where, I guess, that I just refuse to say. I just don't want to say anything to them that I know that they won't go blab about my stuff to someone else, because I can't trust them, because they have talked behind my back before and has spread things that I thought I said in confidence. They go tell other people.
Oh yeah, if they can't keep their word, they're definitely not going to keep confidence.
Right, and so I learned that the hard way, because I got stabbed a couple times, and I was like, okay, I'll forgive them, it's fine.
Like stabbed, or like metaphorically speaking?
Metaphorically.
Okay, cool.
To clarify for Facebook guidelines. But yeah, so people like that, like I'm very careful with things I share, because I've been stabbed in the back before by people who go and blab to the people, and then everyone knows my business. And to me, that's not keeping your word. That's a great example of that.
So how did that make you feel? How did it make you feel?
I felt betrayed by them. I felt like my time and what I was saying really didn't matter to them, and that I'm just like, my business is just funny to them or gossipy to them, and did not feel good.
You're just an amusement?
Yeah, like they didn't take me seriously.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how did that make you think they felt about you? That they didn't hold you in much regard, or did...
Yeah, like they just didn't value my time or friendship or anything like that.
Maybe they looked at you as less than?
Yeah.
You
they're
were
the ones...
inconsequential?
Yeah.
They were important, but you're inconsequential?
Yeah, because obviously my problems were funny to them, but
Sure.
You know what I'm saying?
Here's what my grandfather said. This, just for anybody that wants to know, Christy will know. And
I do know this.
This is life rule number 15. Mm-hmm. I have a list of 20 life rules, and this is number 15.
In your fishing pole room.
In my fishing pole room. I've had them when I was in industrial work. I had them in the top of my toolbox. I taught them to apprentices. I taught these 20 principles to apprentices.
I like them.
And they are rules that I try to go by in life. And if you go by them, they're pretty good rules. But this is number 15. This is M.H. McGraw. That was my grandpa. Loved him dearly. And what my papa said, was my papa. Now I'm a papa. Mm-hmm. But my papa told me, if a man's word is no good, son, then neither is he.
So true.
And he was telling me because I did something that I didn't keep my word.
Yeah.
He wasn't telling me about somebody else.
Yeah.
He wasn't telling me about somebody else's business. He was telling me about mine.
Conviction.
Because I gave him my word on something and didn't do it. I'm pretty sure it was I was going to come help him with something in the yard. And he told me, and I didn't come. I went and did something, probably went and rode bikes or played ball or
something like that.
Or got in trouble. Mm-hmm. Said, son, if a man's word is no good, then neither is he.
Yeah.
In other words, you keep your word to me, boy. That's what he was saying. Mm-hmm. If you tell me you're going to do something, you better do it. Mm-hmm. And he meant that as a character lesson for life. And what I'm telling people, what I'm telling believers in Christ, is if a man's word is no good, then neither is his character. Mm-hmm. Because that's just out of the heart the mouth speaks. Jesus said that. You know, people bring forth what is in their heart. Evil people, or corrupt heart, brings forth what's corrupt. Lies come out of your heart. That shows the condition of your character. Mm-hmm. It does. It really does. So, if we don't treat people like they have value, they'll assume we don't value them. If we lie to them, don't keep our word to them, they will assume that we don't value them. Mm-hmm. We'll assume that they will assume that we don't value them. If people assume that we don't have any value or place any value in them, why would they ever listen to us as believers?
Right.
Why would they listen to us about Jesus? Why would they listen to us about how my life's been changed? Jesus has redeemed me. Really? Because there's still some work left to do for sure.
Yeah.
And we all have some work left to do.
Yeah.
But this is such a blunt, upfront, huge character flaw that
is more common than it should be.
It is. Yeah. Have you ever had anybody disregard your time? Like make appointments with you and just not show up, or or just like, and then do it repeatedly, or just have you wait for them for 30 minutes. And
The most common occurrence of this is on Facebook Marketplace when I go to buy something, and then I go and it's like, yeah, I'll be there in like 10 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I sold it to somebody else. They gave me $5 more.
I was literally with Buddy and Susan one time heading to go get a table.
Yeah, I heard
and
story.
Yeah, and then we were on the way there, and the guy's like, "Yeah, sorry, I sold it." I'm like, "Bro, I told you I was coming, and you said that's fine, and we agreed to this time frame."
See, that's like, not swearing to your own hurt.
And then I felt bad for Buddy and Susan. I was like, "Oh my gosh."
No, I'm sure Buddy didn't feel bad about it. He probably was mad as fuck.
But we were like, I wasn't like as close to them at the moment. Like I know. I don't know. It was. I felt really bad, but we ended up going to get coffee and had a good time. But
I do remember him telling me that, and he was not happy about that situation.
I know.
And he wasn't happy they did you that way.
I know.
Well,
it ended up working out, but
it made you feel what, less than?
Yeah, I was like, well, dang, my time, all that planning I did to try to meet with this person. I even went and got cash for this table.
Right.
And I had it in hand, and I was ready to go on the way.
And they agreed to
be there.
What they did was lie.
Yep.
They lied to you because it was convenient.
Yep.
They didn't value you. They didn't have any relationship with you, and they didn't value you. Mm-hmm. It's really easy not to value people we don't have any relationship with, but that's not how a believer should act.
That's not how it should be, yeah.
Right. Well, if we don't do the small things like keep our appointments, how can we be trusted with bigger things? If I can't trust you to be where you say you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be, how can I give you responsibility over something? How can I give you opportunity? How can I promote you? How can I give you a good reference? How can I love it when people that have horrible character, because I'm a pastor, want me to give them a job reference. I love that. Now, I do the best I can just to say, yes, I know them, yes, they work for me, yes, they've been here for a long time, I love them very much. That's if I can't say anything nice, try to not say anything at all.
Right.
Not keeping our word in the small things shows we A, can't be trusted,
right.
B, can't be relied upon, C, can't be given authority, can't be given responsibility, we can't be given oversight of other people's lives because we don't handle our own business. Mm-hmm. And it shows that we can't be taken seriously.
Right.
That's what it shows. Mm-hmm. So we need to keep our word. We need to be people who keep our word because we represent Jesus. Jesus values people, and we should value what he does.
And Jesus kept his promises, and he's an example of who we should be. So.
Yeah, his one of his promises is he's coming back. Y'all don't want to have the answer for this mess. Just keep your word.
Right.
The second thing is we need to show we can handle what we already have been entrusted with, and we can handle more. That's keeping our word, handling our business like we said we would. The next thing is to show we have integrity and we have worth as a person. Why should I keep my word when it's inconvenient? Because I'm a person who has worth and I have integrity, and I said I would. My word has weight. My word means something. Mm-hmm. Number 4, we should keep our word because we're supposed to show people we value others. We're supposed to show that we value other people. Keeping our word to other people shows that we place value in you. Mm-hmm. And the last thing is we should keep our word to show that Jesus values people enough to send an ambassador of quality to them.
Because we represent him.
We represent him. Mm-hmm. Jesus sent somebody to me that was a person of quality, a person of integrity, and if that's what it means to be a Christian, I want to be like that.
Yeah.
We don't want to be the one where people says, if that's what it means a Christian, I don't want to be anything like that. I don't want to have anything to do with that.
Yeah.
We don't want that. And that's what we learned today. And it's the truth anyway. We love you. Glad you tuned in. Please like, share, subscribe. Check us out on Spotify. We'll see you next Thursday at 5. Thank you, Christy. I appreciate you.
Yes, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being